Hello everyone, welcome to another special episode here on the book show. And this reminds me very much of my days in the old police. And it was the same in the South African Defence Force or Army, Navy, Air Force, Medical Corps or service. It was the same everywhere. Every day you started with a prayer. So you had like a prayer parade every morning. You would actually go on parade and the commanding officer or somebody, perhaps the padre, the chaplain would arrive and they would say a quick prayer, say a few words, read out of a Bible perhaps. And it didn't matter whether what you are, I mean, that's how it was. And if you wanted to have some serious PT afterwards, punishment PT, which we had another word for, it starts with the word op, and then it goes with the F word. Make jokes, yeah. I'll try and tell the chaplain you're an atheist. It will not go well with you. No. I know that many people considered us to be brutal and to be people who has no feelings, and we would just go out and shoot and kill black people, things like that. Absolute bullshit and toss. Go and read my books, read the Mean Streets series. Gewetenlose Strate, the Afrikaans translation of Mean Streets about my time in the old police. It was between 1985 and 91, so you can imagine that was the times of change. And that was the times of the emergencies in the countries, and we faced a lot of danger. So the praise was sincerely meant. I don't think anybody joked around, even though you were very young. You enlisted at the age of 17, 18 perhaps, and you need spiritual guidance. God is actually important in your life. And the subject I'm talking about today is so important, and it is so shocking, in fact, that I was tempted to actually say a prayer before I started, and I did. Yeah, so I did that already, and I will not bother you with it, and I'm not claiming to be inspired by the Holy Spirit at all. But I can tell you, when I wrote the GMJ books, the George M. James series, a lot of things came out, and there was, of course, a lot of things which I already knew. But as I researched the books, I realized, well, there's a lot more that I didn't know, and it came out in every book. And so I would choose a subject, and I would write it around a training scenario or something which happened, or a study which was done, or a briefing, or whatever, or So you learn from the books, and that's how the books are. So I would advise you, if you are interested in these subjects of modern counterterrorism, please have a look at the books. Go and find one of the videos, and all the descriptions are there, and then see what you find out. So I wrote a book called Codename Love 72, and I think it was book 50, but I speak under correction. So it's quite far down the series, which has 54 books. And in this book, the hero basically wants to attack and overcome a safe house on Mafia Island, which is close to Tanzania, around about there, very beautiful place. And the word mafia has got nothing to do with the US mafia, but it comes down to the fact that the US has a lot of safe houses across the world. And in these safe houses, they basically keep people against their will, which some people will call them hostages, because that's exactly what they are. They are kidnapped. There's no law involved here, nothing. And then you torture them, and then you kill them, or you take them to Guantanamo Bay, which is a slow killing anyway. It's inhuman. You just keep people there without trial. How many times have I heard you people, you assholes there in the West? How many times have I heard you talk about detention without trial? Yeah, how many? How many times did I hear you talking about that, assholes? Huh? Idiots? During apartheid. How many times? Yeah, many times. Yeah, now I get worked up. I don't think I would be worked up. But anyway, this is detention without trial, asshole. So you see where it's coming from now. When we did that, and we did it through a court process, and these people were not kept in a safe house to be tortured at will by spies. No, they were kept at a police station, where they were seen by a magistrate or a judge every now and then, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Don't believe me. Read my damn books and wake up. These people are not like that at all. These ones who are kept are genuinely, well, they disappear. They're outside the legal system, and it is by design. Of course, it's by design. And you know what? The worst thing here is it's not even efficient, which pisses me off even more. If it was a highly efficient program, I would say to you, okay, well, on the war on terror, I do have sympathy, but it's not efficient at all. In fact, it's creating more terrorism. It's like Israel. The state of Israel actually has the most assassinations in the world, meaning that the Mossad or somebody goes out and they just murder people left, right, and center. I think it's more than 3,000 since 1948, which we know about, probably 10 times that. You know, where they just walk up and shoot somebody and kill somebody, and everybody applauds. Oh, it's so nice. No, it's not nice. It's not nice. It's not nice. It's murder. It's murder. But once you start thinking that way, it's a big problem. Now, I know that some of you might point fingers at me because I write about the rendition programs in other books as well. If you care to read the very first book I wrote on this in the series, and wrote does not mean that it's actually the first book in time. It's actually right at the end, probably around about 5 or 6 books before we enter the series, but it was published first. Why? Because I found it so important, the message in it, and that's codename VF0565. So you can go and listen also to what I have to say about 565 in my little talk, and you can read the book, and in there we actually do a rendition program. We would get orders to snatch somebody, that's a word which is used, but it's actually kidnapping, and you overcome a guy, and then you just take him and you run a war with some mysterious people on a beach. You look at the equipment, the way they approach you, obviously US Special Forces, who's lowly rated by me. I don't think much of them, but they are there. And they probably would load this guy on a submarine, or they would load him on one of their trawler vessels, their motherships, which we're going to talk about here. So, guys, I'm going to talk quickly. I'm going to try and do this within an hour. I don't know if that's possible because there's so much to say about it. But if you feel that we left out things, please go and read Love 72. To be honest with you, it doesn't matter to me whether I get paid for it or not. I'm okay. So this is not trying to sell you books. I'm not a salesperson. I don't care. But it is about knowledge, and it's also about getting on record. And I think that's actually important. It's important for a man to make a stand somewhere. Somewhere along the line, you have to stand up and say, here I am. And here I stand, so help me God. Yeah, that was Martin Luther. And if you read any of my books right at the end, where it's a description of George M. James, a pseudonym, and where I come from, right at the end of every book, and you will see when I quote that, and I say, basically, I don't care what people say about my books. I said what I had to say, which I felt I had to do, which probably, yeah, that I will claim comes from the Holy Spirit, because there's nothing in my books which is unholy. But that's a debate for another time. But we're also going to get into why the US is acting like this. I mean, because this is so way outside international law and the rules-based order. Now, let me get sarcastic about that as well. The rules-based order, which means rules for me and fuck all for you, if I may be very blunt. And I will change the rules according to myself. That's why the world is being split into two. Right now, there is actually, a second Cold War going, but it's been actually never stopped. We can call it a second one, but in fact, if you look at how we dealt with the Soviet Union after it became Russia and the rest of the Russian Federation states, then you will realize that it never stopped. And that too goes back to what the US is today, of course, which is the second beast of the Bible. And once you understand that, you will understand why they are acting like they are acting. Now, you might say to me, Chris, you are insane. Where do you fall out? What's this about? Well, go and read Oath of Evil, The War on Protestantism. It's a 651-page book where I really go into detail why I say these things straight from the Bible. And when I say Bible, I mean the Protestant Bible, the King James. Not the New International Version, which is the Douay Bible, or Bible, the Jesuit Bible. But it comes down to the following. I was actually planning to say this to you last, but I will say this to you right in the beginning so that you can understand why the US is acting the way it's acting. In the Bible, the King James, and as I say, I refer you either to the Bible or I refer you to my book, but preferably the Bible. But in the book, Hope of Evil, you will find all the text, and you can just go and cross-check it. Please do so, do so. Don't just take my word. I say that to a few in all my books. Don't just take my words. If I say something to you which you think is way out, please go and research. You will find the evidence because I found it. It's really not that hard. But it seems that in the Bible there's three different entities which are mentioned. One is the dragon. Now the dragon is described as Lucifer, as Satan, that angel which fell from heaven with all his mates who was in revolt against God and got banned to earth. And today you find him in the form of demons. And at some stage, this Satan, this Lucifer, will appear as an angel of light. And if you're really stupid, you will fall for that. Yeah, you will fall for that. Why? Because you will think it's Jesus, or you will think it's some kind of a spiritual being which is so benign. Because the devil, I don't think, actually look like a goat. Because if it is created in the image of God, then it will actually be quite unlike a goat. Unless you want to tell me that God looks like a goat. Please don't do that. Not in my presence. I will assault you. So anyway, you have that demon power there, Satan. And then it says in the Bible, and this is in the books of Daniel as well as Revelation, and you people who listened to me before will know I talk about this all the time because that is important. Because in life you find three different levels of activity which you need to know about. One is tactical. And since most of we were military people, we do understand tactical. We understand the tactical level thinking. That is where you and your squad or your platoon, even your company, even your battalion is attacking something. Even in division, you're attacking something. You don't really know why. And you don't care. All you know is you've got the enemy cornered at site and now you're going to attack me. And you know how to do that. You will call in your airstrikes. You'll have your mortar support, armor support, whatever, drones these days. Then you just go in and you kill, man. That's what it's about. In counterterrorism, it's a bit more developed because you might find somebody in a house and then you have to go into that house. House penetration is what we called it. And you just go in and you just make an end. That's how you do it. And sometimes you have to do that in an enemy city and you have to disappear afterwards. Now, if you listen to legacy conversations where we speak to the military veterans, there are lots of special forces people, very former. Also from a railway police, special forces, a special task team. They will tell you that one of the methods they would use when they strike at the building, now this is not to rescue a hostage, this is to take out the terrorists next, right? And then they will do that in an enemy city behind enemy lines. Now how they get there is another story entirely. You can read Codename Nabele 14, and there's a lot of other books, or you can listen to these guys and they will tell you how they got into the place and how they got back. And in the Shadow World, the great game, you also use the same methods and a lot more. And they would then sometimes, after they conducted this attack, they would disappear into the sewage on the tunnels under the city. Yeah. So you run around above, you don't know where those guys are, they make their way under the city, under your feet. Yeah. And one day they did that in Durban, which is a coastal city, and they tried, they conducted an exercise, but they had it wrong and the tide came in. And one of them actually drowned. May he rest in peace. And the others were really, really lucky to escape. So this is very dangerous work. And of course, the people who are snatched, that's the other side of a coin. Oh, of course, most of them are actually terrorists and they don't want to be snatched, and they would definitely kill you if things go wrong there. So let's look at it. Let's look what came out in Love 72. Made some notes again. Let's see. In the first place, they call it the US Extraordinary rendition program. And as I explained, this is where the CIA members, all they lack is sometimes they pay people like me or other people to go and do it. And they snatch and grab and kidnap a suspected terrorist, and then they take him to a neutral country. Now, neutral here does not mean neutral against war. Neutral means that they are in the pocket of the US. In other words, they're a damn vassal state. They're nothing else. They're little poodles, they're little chihuahuas, like the UK. You know, if Daddy Trump says jump, then the prime ministers and the whole cabinet just bends down and says, please have your way, sir. Please, do whatever you want. We have a special relationship. Yeah. If you can't see the special relationship is a bit of bullshit, and if you cannot see that you're being abused, but you have no choice, do you? You don't have an army, you don't have a navy, you have fuck all. Yeah, must I again repeat what I say in so many videos and books? You know, something like China builds a Royal Navy every 2 years. Think about that. Your aircraft carriers, they don't actually have aircraft. What's the other problem there? The Navy is unbalanced, mate. Cannot be protected, so it has to depend on NATO. Whose Navy has got more admirals than fighting ships? Royal Navy. Yeah, true. What army's got more horses than tanks? That's the British Army. Oh, okay. Tell me, RAF, Royal Air Force, Battle of Britain. You know, South Africa can actually let the scores there. Sailor Malone. No, you don't know that. Of course not. So tell me, did you start perhaps one of these affirmative action programs of yours, you know, to get other people except white men to actually be pilots? Yeah, you did that. And now what? You don't have pilots. You don't have pilots. Okay. You have aircraft? Not really. No. Yeah. So for the Brits, but I feel it's hard for me to feel sorry for them. I actually feel fuck all for them. Nothing. I remember the concentration camps in the Boer War, which you haven't apologized for. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, read my books, please, and wake up to history. But I do feel compassion, you know, because your average Tommy, they're fantastic people, and when it comes to counterinsurgency anyway, they're extremely good at it because they can mix with the locals. Of course, they murder prostitutes as well now and then, but when they don't do that, they actually are quite approachable people, and so they mix up with the locals, they get the information, and in a place like Sub-Saharan Africa, there is still a colonial syndrome. In other words, if you can speak English in a proper accent, I say, oh, chap, I think you are actually much smarter than what you are. The Americans do, I don't know why. If a guy can speak with a proper accent, you know, they really think this guy is smarter than them. Yeah. Well, not really, but that's actually the way it is. So anyway, so the little chihuahua which Britain has become, they have no choice. They have to actually run after the US. That's why just yesterday we found out that the US brought some nuclear weapons into some RAF base, like something. And nobody said a word, and I asked the British foreign secretary about it, Lammy or whatever his name is, Lame Doc, whatever. He refused to answer the question. You would think, really, guys, if I bring a nuclear weapon onto your soil, that I would perhaps have a decency to go and say to you guys, can I leave these weapons here because that makes you an automatic target. Yeah. If a war should break out of a peer country like Russia, is actually above you, then they're going to hit you. They're going to hit you extremely hard. They might even nuke you. But you've become such lackeys, you don't even do that. And when your foreign secretary is asked about it, he refuses to answer. What a coward. So anyway, so let's look at this. I mean, let's not dwell on the UK, but it is important because there is a thing going called 5 eyes, then it's 9 eyes and 20 eyes or whatever, which are different nations who are actually working together intelligence-wise. Now, normally that would not be a problem. But the problem here is what we've seen since about 1946 is that MI6 with the James Bonds, they have no money, relatively speaking. So what they would do is they would use their superior prestige, which fuck all actually, but They would do that, and then they would run combined operations. CIA paying, they do the dirty work. They would go and do the work for the CIA. The Catholics in action, as they are called, in South America. And by the way, most of their leaders are either occultists, like George Bush Sr. Yeah. Was an occultist, belonged to secret organizations. Skulls and Bones, so did his little boy. Yeah, that one. The other Bush Jr., 43. Kerry, John Kerry, yeah, him too. Yeah, lots of him. What does the Bible say about belonging to secret organizations? Did Jesus talk in secret? No, always in the open. Yeah. In fact, the Bible says expose these people because they're serving Satan, basically. Yeah, that's what you do. But it's fascinating, and I'll give you the names here probably in the notes. Virtually all the CIA as well as the OSS leaders, all of them and the senior people are all very, very serious Catholics. Now remember I said to you we got the dragon, yeah, Satan. Now the dragon then gave his powers over to the first beast, which they say is a horrible beast, a little one. They say this beast is worse than any other beast ever. It's just horrible. He will suppress God's people. And he'll do that for 1,260 years. And then he'll get a wound. But sadly, the wound will not be fatal. He will recover from that wound. So this first beast actually did rule until 1798. Yes, and it was dethroned as a political power. Still had a lot of influence in the religious power. And then what happened is 1929, Mussolini actually restored them. Yeah, the Vatican came back. So yeah, so the first beast is identified as the Catholic system. Note again, I don't say Catholic people, except if they're Jesuits, and of course, and the Antichrist, Pope, papacy, of course they know. They have to know. They're not that stupid, or if they are, well then, you pray for them because I want. But the fact is, that is identified as the first beast, gets its power from the dragon. Okay, right. So it's a satanic thing. And if you read my books or you go to do some research, I always refer you to Professor Dr. Walter J. White. Go and look at his series. I'll leave a link for you called Total Onslaught, and you will see all the links of the sun god worship coming through Baal and all the way through still being practiced in that church every single day. Yeah. Did the Bible not say don't call any man my father? Yeah, what's a priest called? Tell me what father? Interesting, huh? Interesting. Dressed in scarlet. What do I see there in church? What clothes are they wearing? Interesting. Very fascinating because the crimes they committed has led to hundreds of millions of deaths. But anyway, when they came to an end, a new beast had to come out. And this is the second beast. And that second beast actually was being created. And I use that word created. I don't use the word created without knowing why I'm using the word created. Read Oath of Evil or read Codename Masamole 26. I actually use the entire chapter to describe to you how the Jesuits, which is the terrorism wing of a Catholic system. Yes, they were created. Look at their oath. Go and look at their oath and you will see what type of people you're dealing with. And they were created to do what? What do I hear? To break the Reformation. Did they succeed? Yeah. There's 57 or 59,000 denominations now in the Protestant world. Every second guy just creates a church. He's got these ideas which are not biblical. All of them, except the Seventh-day Adventists, where I come from. All of them go to church on a Sunday, which is the mark of a beast. Yeah, read the books. Read the books or go to the links which I supply you. You'll be surprised. Because it's a Catholic church where I actually said it's our mark of authority. We moved today from the Jewish Sabbath to Sunday. But it never was a Jewish Sabbath, was it? Tell me, were there Jews in Genesis, the book of Genesis, right in the beginning when God created everything, and rested on the seventh day? Were there any Jews there? No, there were no Jews there. No, they came much later, about 600 years later. Oh, okay. Didn't know that, did you? So this type of things got nothing to do with the Jews. The fact that they followed it is good for them. But it was created in Genesis, right in the beginning. So the Catholic people, this Pope, this Antichrist, really hates Jews. And if you look at the oath, they say the Jesuits, that is, they say, I will go as low as to pretend to be a Jew. Mm, mm. And then, of course, I didn't apologize. If you read my latest book, named Snake 606, I did not apologize for saying for hundreds of years, actually for 2,000 years almost, I was saying things like, yeah, the Jews killed Jesus. You cannot blame the Jews of today for what happened 2,000 years ago. Are you stupid? But they didn't apologize. It was a non-apology. I don't want to go into that. But you need to understand the scenario, because this second beast, we've got all the power from the first beast, and we will implement the will of the first beast, which gets its power from Satan. That is the United States of America. Am I saying it? Yeah, damn right I'm saying it. But you know, who else said that? You know, from Martin Luther to Calvin to everybody, all the great Protestant leaders and reformers, that is what they said. But in today's time, of course, we don't say such things. No. We need to be politically correct. But guys, there comes a time when you don't need to be politically correct. You have to tell the truth. So let's get back to subject. I also want to say to you, and I say this in the book as well, is there's a lot of people who would think that whatever I say to you is anti-America, and that makes me your enemy, you know, and I'm like a fundamentalist, because you don't know what's the difference between a fundamentalist and a radical. You don't know. Not even your intelligence officers know. And yeah, I'm proud to be a fundamentalist. I believe in the Bible. If the Bible says there was a second beast and a first beast and a dragon and all those things, then yeah, I believe that. Of course, that makes me a fundamentalist. Does that make me somebody who's going to pick up a rifle and go and kill the first US person I see? Well, you know, then I have to kill my lovely wife. I don't think I'll do that. No. There's a huge difference between the two, and you better realize what I'm talking about. So go and read my books, and perhaps I'll make a video on the difference between a radical and extremist as well, and we can look at those guys who did 9/11 and other cults, and then you're going to find out quite a bit of things. But let me say to you that most South Africans of my age, and I'm 58 years old now, or by the time you're looking here, we're not the enemies of the West, and we're definitely not the enemies of the US. The old South Africa, one you called with such contempt, apartheid South Africa, that's at least one Afrikaans word you've learned. You know, that was a Western capitalist type of state, NATO orientated. Totally. The new South Africa is actually a BRICS country, and it is socialist. It is totally not orientated towards the West. In fact, a country with Cuba and a few others who votes the most against the US at the United Nations, or against capitalism, against the West, they say, yeah, the South Africa you created. Anyway, so let me just give you some background. We were fighting with you, of course, in the First World War, as well as in the Second World War. In the Second World War, the 6th South African Armored Division fought under US General Mark Clark, and they did very well. That's what he said. He wrote about the 6th South African Armored Division the following. He said it was a battle-wise outfit, bold and aggressive against the enemy, and willing to do whatever job was necessary. In fact, after a period of severe day and night fighting, the 6th had, in an emergency, gone into the line as infantrymen. Yeah, well, we started as infantrymen, and then came Tobruk, where British Army ran away. Yeah, you ran. You left them behind, and that's why they surrendered. And because of that, the South African Army didn't have enough men for infantry division anymore. So what they had to do is they had to convert to an armored division, which has less men. But they were still fighting good. They were fighting. And so they went into the line as infantrymen. So when the snow stalled their armor, they dug in their tanks and used them as artillery to make up for our shortage of heavy guns. Now this is General Mark Clark speaking, right? He says, whenever I saw them, this is now us, the 6th South African Armor Division. Whenever I saw them, I was impressed by the large number of decorations and honors they had earned the hard way. Their attacks against strongly organized German positions were made with great elan and without regard for casualties. Despite their comparatively small numbers, they never complained about losses. Neither did Smuts, that is the South African Premier. I have a lot to say about him, I don't admire him at all. We made it clear that the Union of South Africa intended to do its part in the war, and it most certainly did. Yeah, General Clark, rest in peace, sir. You're quite right, of course. That's exactly, that summarizes it. I just want to say something else to you, nutcases. With your 20 and 50 medals here in your uniform after 5 years of service, you look like Idi Amin. If you can earn the same medal 15 times or 10 times or 9 times, we piss on your medals. Yeah, let me be blunt. In the South African army, it's very hard to get medals. Very hard. You don't end up with 20, 50 medals. We're not Idi Amin. Yeah, we don't do that. Okay, then came the Korean War. And then something astonishing happened. I write about it in Code Name Blue Tank, which is a book which will tell you straight in your face that you didn't have air superiority in the 1980s and you still don't have it. Yeah, that's you, the West. Yeah, you don't. Your aircraft are not as good as you think and your missiles are shut. And then you forgot to put guns on your F-35 until later, and now the thing cannot shoot straight. Yeah, well anyway, during Korea, the South Africans had a fighter squadron there, and they were flying combat, of course, with the Americans. And the one US commanding officer actually said, and this is a written order, in memory of our gallant South African comrades, it is hereby established as a new policy that at all retreat ceremonies held by this wing, the playing of our national anthem, that's the Old Glory or whatever you call it, shall be preceded by playing the introduction bars of the South African national anthem, Die Stem van Suid-Afrika, the voice of South Africa, if you translate that. All personnel of this wing will render the same honors to this anthem as our own. That was by the commanding officer of the USAF 18 Fighter Bomber Wing, and that was to honor 2nd Squadron, Squadron 2 of the South African Air Force. And if you go to Legacy Conversations, yes, you will find one of their commanders, not in Korea, he wasn't even born then, but one of their later commanders, Colonel Cobus Turin, who is actually talking about the squadron and the different aircraft he was flying there. And in the future, we will definitely talk more about the squadron. It is the elite. It is the fighter squadron of the Air Force. And if you've seen these Air Force generals and higher officers in my time, all of them were wearing high US decorations because they flew in Korea. Were they awarded that 10 times? No, once. Yeah. So the point I'm trying to make here to you is we don't hate you. When I talk about these things, please see it as a warning. I don't really care if you don't or do not and whatever, but from my view, it's warnings. It's not here to insult you for the, just for the reason to insult you, not at all. We are deeply sympathetic to you, but we also know you're the second beast. And therefore, we are expecting you to act like a second beast, which is why we are exactly seeing it rolling out now. This is biblical times, guys. It's fantastic. It's fantastic for me to see all the idiotness coming from Washington, because you just look at it and think, yeah, well, okay. We've explained tactical level, strategic levels with the generals. I will tell you that division has to attack that place because they've got another division here. And that's where most people stop. But when you read my books and when you talk to me about these things, you need to be able to understand there's also a battle of good and evil. Good, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, angels. And then you have a fallen angels under the command of Lucifer and Satan and all his followers. And there will be war between those two. And don't try and stand in the middle. You're gonna die. There's no way. And don't try to be neutral, because God says, what? He will spit you out. He doesn't like neutral people. You're either gonna stand with him or go there. Go that side. It's fine. Go away. Go. Fine. But don't cry. Don't cry when things happen to you, because it's going to happen to you. It is not something you can escape. There will be a judgment day. There will be. There's nothing you can do about it. So make the right choices, as they say. So anyway, so we see the second beast is acting like the second beast, and it's going to get a lot worse. So let's look quickly at the history of the rendition program. The first one in modern times, which I can think about, was actually a Mossad operation. Even though we're talking here about the US one, I just mentioned this as background, is that when they went to Argentina and they grabbed Adolf Eichmann. Now, Adolf Eichmann, of course, is well known. He's a guy who they considered to be the mastermind of the Holocaust. But in fact, he wasn't that important. Not at all. It was more a propaganda coup than anything else in my eyes. But they did grab him, and good for them. And of course, later after the trial, he was executed. And you know that Israel, and I've got many friends who are Jews and the Israelis, is that they don't even have a death penalty. So they didn't know how to execute this guy legally now. They absolutely knew how to execute somebody illegally. You know, walk up to him with a .22 and just shoot him 10 times. Blow him up. Yeah, we talk about that in a lot of the books. We can learn from that. But I mean, formally, where you actually sentence a guy to death and now he's got to hang. So we had to import people to do that. They simply didn't have executioners with it. I know it's a bit of an irony, isn't it? So anyway, the other time which we know is in 1987, President Ronald Reagan, he actually authorized that a terrorist called Fawaz Younis was an airline hijacker. He was to be snatched. But as I say to you, when you use the word snatch in law, it is actually kidnapping. Just for those of you who don't know, after I left the South African Police Force, I went to university for 5 years. I obtained 2 law degrees, started a master's degree in law. I did my articles, I did law school. So 6 years after I left the police, I became an attorney and I worked as a state prosecutor. Not for long, but long enough. And then I became a junior attorney at a very, very famous human rights law firm. One which actually presented Nelson Mandela and all of them. And there we had great fun, and then I was recruited into the shadows. So yeah, if I say to you that snatching someone is actually kidnapping, yeah, I know the law. I know what I'm talking about. You cannot take away that knowledge from me. So this Younis was then also put on trial, and he was sentenced to jail, and after a few years he was actually released. But there's a difference here, guys, and this is extremely important. You have to understand the difference. The difference here is as follows. These guys, when they got snatched, Eichmann as well as Younis, and they were brought and they were put to trial, they had a trial, right? And then they were found guilty. One was executed, as I said, and the other one was sentenced to jail and released. The people snatched under the rendition program normally are not, repeat, not put on trial. Right, you get that. Sometimes they would have like a military tribunal, like a military trial. Yeah, that's... Yeah, we don't recognize the authority of that simply because you're not in a state of war. If you're in a state of war and there's obviously emergency declared, yes, then even in South Africa you can actually have a military trial and you can be executed by firing squad, but under normal conditions you can't. It's just not possible. There is no such thing. There is no death penalty. You get what I'm saying? So that's just bullshit. So these people are snatched, they are kept, they are tortured, they are murdered. They are not put on trial. Why? Because there's no evidence. There's no evidence. There's no evidence which you can bring to court. Please remember that. It's one hell of a distinction. And then it went quiet for a while, and then about 1995, or perhaps 96, we're not too sure, Billy Goat Clinton. I have a lot to say about Billy Goat Clinton too. There was also some renditioning going on in the background, but it wasn't the main purpose. It was just, very ad hoc almost, as far as we know. But then came 9/11, and if you think that 9/11 didn't happen, you're an idiot. And if you think there was some great conspiracy going on there, but forget about conspiracies, guys. This happened. These people took these aircraft over, they flew into the buildings, and no, it was not the first attempt. Did you know that? Yeah, no, it wasn't. I think 94, around about that and Air France Boeing, or probably Air France Airbus was hijacked, I think from Algiers, not too sure anymore. I write about it in Codename Wrangler. And it was flown to Paris with the objection of flying into the Eiffel Tower of the French presidency. And they didn't because the pilots told them it was actually out of fuel. And so they landed at Marseille, and their French police special forces actually stormed it and they overcame the hijackers. It's a bit of a joke if you look at my series on hostage survival. You will see I've got a video there. If I remember, I'll put it in for you here as well. You see they are approaching this aircraft. The snipers are already firing to keep heads down of the hostages, firing into the cockpit. Really dangerous to do that. I don't know how they knew exactly who was there, but they did that. And then these stairs actually approach the aircraft, and then they run up, they try to open the door, and the door slams against the stairs. Why? Because the aircraft is heavier, it's loaded with people, baggage, and fuel, and therefore it slams against this ladder. They have to move a ladder back, open the door, move a ladder back into, and then they go in. I think at the other doors where they were entering, they didn't have that problem because there was a lot of shooting going on at that stage as well. You will see one of the French special forces actually fall down the ladder. He jumps down, do a roll, and he's up like a flash, and he's up and he runs in again. Yeah, that's what I want to see. I don't want to see you lying there, holding your knee. No. You'll never make the standards if you like that. But anyway, so we learned from that two things. We learned in the first place, go and measure the damn aircraft to see how high your ladder should be. And secondly, that was the first attempt to use an aircraft since the Second World War to fly deliberately into something. Second World War, kamikaze, I don't have to explain that to you. So yeah, intelligence community knew about it. In fact, one guy in US intelligence actually said he thought that there's one hijacker, and they're all the Saudis, by the way. All except one of them was Saudis, your great mate. I go into great detail sarcastically about that as well, but I'm not going to do it here now. So if you want to know why I'm so sarcastic about Saudi, that country who supports Al-Qaeda and ISIS and all of that, well, you have to read my books to understand what I'm talking about, or listen to my other talks. I do talk about it often, because it makes no sense unless, of course, you understand who is the second beast and what's actually happening in the background. Then it makes perfect sense. Because then they're friends. But in fact, they shouldn't be. You should not be supporting the country who is supporting terrorism to kill your own people. Let me be very blunt. It makes no flippant sense. Unless, of course, you want your own people to die. Yeah, of course. Well, why not? If you're serving Satan and you start all these wars and things in the Middle East and you use the Israelis as your little puppet and your little chihuahua there, and the result of that is all the Christians may die. I can hear Satan laughing. That makes sense to me. Yeah, absolutely. Is that what happened? That is exactly what flippin' happened. It's exactly what happened. Yeah. Tell me, how many of the Christians, the 20% who used to be in the Middle East before you attacked Iraq and Afghanistan? Tell me, how many of them are left? Huh? No, idiot, you don't know. Less than 1%, guys. Less than 1%. They were virtually wiped out. 99% of the Christians in the Middle East don't exist anymore. They don't exist anymore. Where are they? Come, tell me, where are they? Since Barack Obama and those people wouldn't allow Christians to actually immigrate to the US, go look at their statistics. You're going to find out 95%, 96% were Muslim people coming in. Then go and look at who came in under Joe Biden, who streamed across the border, Catholics, all of them. So where's the Christians? Where's the Protestants? Where are they? We're dead. We're dead, guys. We are dead. Yeah. They don't exist anymore. They dead. They were killed. Are they still being killed? Those who are left over? Yeah, go to Syria. Go and find out. Al-Qaeda got command of that country now. You think there's a chance that this might have been planned? That it might have been not by chance? Yeah, guys, of course. It was planned. It was planned. So anyway, Billy Goat Clinton, I have a lot to say about him, but I won't. But after 9/11, this really took off on George Bush, 43. And as I say, these people are being held without trial, held detention without trial. I again use that word, I kind of like that. And so they're just there. They're just there. And why they're doing it as an extraordinary rendition program is to deny the suspects the privilege of a US legal system. So that's the way they do it. So they identify a guy, let's say in Pakistan, he's got some kind of connection to a terrorist. So they think he does. And then most of the time they don't even flip and have any evidence, but they think he does. And so when he's kidnapped or he's arrested and he's handed over to the CIA and the FBI, we'll talk about them too. And then he's interrogated, which means he's tortured. One of their favorite methods are one which George Bush Jr. actually wrote about it in his book, waterboarding. Now, waterboarding, that was done to us also during training, is they just place you, well, they tie you down on a table, or they hold you down, they put a cloth over your face and they start throwing water on you. And you might think, oh, well, that's not so bad, but you're really drowning. And you get the feeling of drowning. It's most horrible, actually. It is drowning. And then they revive you and they do it again. Yeah, and again. Yeah. And I remember a few years ago, there was some ex-Green Beret or something who made a YouTube video about it. And he said, this is not so bad. I went and had McDonald's afterwards or something like that. When you go through your counter-interrogation training, it's a mind game. Yes, it's South African Special Forces. It's called the Dark Phase. And there's a flippin' reason for that. And I'm not ex-Special Forces, guys. I don't claim to be. But obviously your spies and your air crew and those people also undergo this type of training. And I think of all of them, the spy one is actually the most toughest, hardest, because he goes on the longest. Because if you are captured behind enemy lines as a spy in Sub-Saharan Africa, I guarantee you're going to be worked with. Yeah. There's no Geneva Convention, anything like that to protect you. Nothing. Not that it matters really, because even if it was, you would still not be protected as a spy, but still, and we go into that in huge details in the books as well. But the thing is, after 3 days of not sleeping, you have a complete mind change. The real you actually comes out. You become different. People actually talk different. They sound different. They might break or they might become aggressive. They lose control. They lose control of their bodily functions sometimes. They might start whimpering, even the toughest of guys. It's horrible to witness. It's really horrible to witness. Women go through it as well. And of course, your chances of being raped, whether you're male or female in this theater, if you're captured, is 100% gonna happen. And again, we go back into history, and I speak about this also in the Hostage Survival series. There are ways and techniques of how to make that stop or get over quickly. If I may be blunt, every female will know if you make the right noises. It excites the other side, and then it's quite quick. But in those circumstances, it might also annoy the other side and get even worse for you. So we do talk about these things. The point I'm trying to make is with this Green Beret is that you will not react like that if I get you up for interrogation. After day 7, you would probably be crying for mercy, but no, you'll be crying within 2 days. No, make that 3 hours. But the time I'm trying to say to you is the mindset is different. Okay, guys, let's go and demonstrate this quickly. Okay, I'm lying down there. Okay, throw the water, and then we're going out for a burger. That's your mindset, idiot. That's your mindset. But when you're captured and you're really captured and you're being out there and your mindset is not like that. No, these guys are not going to stop. You get what I mean? They're going to carry on and they're going to carry on, and at the end of the day, they're going to get you, and that's how they break you. So right, let's carry on here. Don't believe anything of this crap which you actually hear in on the internet, because there's always things to explain in the background. I also want to say that this entire US rendition program is, of course, to overcome the law, to make sure that these people don't get a trial, don't get to call a lawyer, and none of those things. This happened before, by the way, during the at the end of the Second World War. There were millions of German prisoners of war in uniform surrendering. Eisenhower and mates didn't want to feed them because, according to the laws of war, the Geneva Conventions, Hague Convention, all of them say that if you have a prisoner, he's got to eat the same as your troops. In other words, he's got to be taken care of. And there's an organization called what? The Red Cross. Yes, those people. Yeah. And they can come and actually check and make sure that they actually do it. But Eisenhower realized they didn't have food to feed these people. So they decided they are not going to classify the surrendering German troops as prisoners of war. No, they were not POWs. And because they were not POWs, they didn't need to actually feed them. Yeah, you see where this is going. I write about this in codename Alphabet 52, which shocked quite a few people when that came out. And of course, the little lapdogs, the UK followed suit. So they classified them as something else, not as POWs. And in 1989, it came out that there was a book written by James Bacue called Our Losses. You can go and look for it. He says about 790,000 of these prisoners of war actually died. And then, of course, they all said, no, this is not true. This can't be. Yeah, well, then came a Colonel Ernest F. Fisher. He was a former senior historian at U.S. Army Center of Military History, and he agreed. He says, yeah, he investigated it too. Yeah, there you go. So it took 10 months for the International Red Cross Society organization to actually get access. And when they got access to these prisoners of war, because that's what they were, they found appalling conditions, and hundreds of thousands has died by hunger at that time. Yeah, what did the British Army call their people? Surrendered enemy personnel. Same flippant story. There you go. And then there was, of course, the Jewish Brigade, or whatever you call them. Also, and they started just murdering every Nazi who they thought was a Nazi. They would just capture the guy in the middle of the night and just strangle him. Yeah. They were also conducting a lot of terrorism there. Am I the one saying this? No. They came out and they talked about it openly on TV. Yeah, we've got those confessions. We have them. So yeah, guys, the fact that you surrender doesn't make it, even on the law, even in uniform. It's not to say that the West, yes, the second beast people, yeah, NATO, not to say they're going to treat you well. Probably they won't. Now, there is a huge difference, I just want to say, with the air pirates, where you go and you bomb countries like the US has been doing. We'll give you the statistics. And there the people get captured after being shot down, the pilots and their crew. And then they treated quite badly, like in Hanoi. Now, I'm not saying it's a good thing, not at all. But legally speaking, they're not prisoners of war. They're actually terrorists. They are actually air pirates. And yes, they can be executed by law. Yeah, that's what happens when you don't declare war. Congress, you critters, you surrender to the president. Yeah, people. Yeah, you actually putting your people in harm's way. Because those protections which they should have according to the laws of war, now they don't flip and have it legally. Yeah, just think about that. So one of the things which they would do is after they captured the guy is they would get a third party to come and torture him. So in other words, you would sit there and then you get like an African or something or somebody else and they would come and do the torturing and you sit there and you wash your hands. Yeah, you're Pontius Pilatus yourself, No, that wasn't me. Could you have stopped it? Yes, but I didn't. There you go. You're guilty. That's the first question I'll ask you in law. Why didn't you stop it? Oh, here we go. I had instructions. Legal. Is that legal for you to do these things? No. There you go. You see, took me less than what? 20 seconds. Got you. Bingo. Got you. You have no flipping excuse. And let me tell you something else. If you're listening here and you were not in the services and you weren't doing it, you'll say to me, I'm innocent. Wasn't me. Shaggy defense, wasn't me. Yeah, caught me red-handed with a girl next door. What am I gonna do? Say it wasn't me. That guy was doing this. He's wearing the flag of your country here on his shoulder, isn't he? Yeah, he's drawing pay from you, from a taxpayer. He's an agent of your Catholics in Action or FBI or whatever. He's doing this in your name. He's doing this in your name. There is no such thing as you saying to me, no, I've got nothing to do with this. No, you're guilty. You're guilty by association, and you're also guilty because you didn't stop it and you knew about it. You cannot escape those guys. It's impossible. Okay, so what they would do is, let's say we've got a guy and they hold him somewhere. Then the analyst would come out and they would send a list of questions. Then the list of questions arrive and the CIA then deliver them there at the black site, which is what they call these places, these safe houses where they murder and torture these people. And then they would ask these questions according to this list received. So once again, you can't get out of it. You are guilty because the questions are being asked on your behalf. It doesn't matter if it's a neutral, or let's say a third party was actually doing the waterboarding, and it's not only waterboarding. There's a lot of other torture going on as well. You're still guilty. There's just no way you can escape it. Has this happened before? Yeah, of course, man. Go to Vietnam. Vietnam War. What happened there? Somebody would be captured. This guy is then handed over to the Vietnamese and they would torture him. Now you sitting there in US uniform, it's not you doing it. No, it's not you doing it. Oh, of course you might be excited by it, especially it's a female. Perhaps you play with yourself. I don't know. You get such people. For you, it's perhaps distasteful. Let's say you've got some honor in you. It's distasteful, but it has to be done. And since the army will not do it, let's get the spies to do it. They people without honor, but whatever. Someone else is doing it. No, you can't get away from that. Really, you can't. Your problem with this is once you start torturing people, they're going to tell you what you want to know. So you can't then really have reliable intelligence. And that is why people are so against it. Besides the fact that if this guy survives or it comes out that he was tortured, it does piss us off people. You do understand that. And then they become terrorists and they do come and they kill you. And then you walk around, you American, and you say, I don't understand why the world hates us because of our freedoms. What flippin' freedom do you have? You have no freedom, mate. Let me explain something to you. You've got something called the FBI, right? The female body inspectors. Well, what else? Federal Bureau of Investigations. Created by a cultist called Bonaparte. Yeah, actually family of the Emperor Bonaparte. Do you know that? No, probably not. So tell me, what can the FBI do? What the apartheid police, the KGB, and the secret police in North Korea cannot do? Tell me. I want to know. Well, they can actually arrest you if you lie to them, even if it's without you knowing. You might be mistaken, you might be tired, you might be stupid enough to talk to them without your attorney present. And you're trying to do the right thing and you're trying to assist, and now it comes out that perhaps your version is not quite the version they want to hear. Now they arrest you. Keep you in jail. Free country, huh? Free country. Tell me, what's the difference between your two parties, the demo rats and the reptilians? Tell me, what's the difference? There's no difference. It doesn't matter who you vote into power. It doesn't matter. Turns out to be John McCain. What? McCain? What's that guy called? The one who was in Vietnam who got shot down? Him. The one who was standing there at Ukraine in 2014 when all those murders were taking place and the coup d'etat against the elected leader? Yeah, you know about that? No, of course not. Yeah, he was standing there and he was a going, yeah, go guys, this is right, commit murder, yeah, overthrow your elected government, yeah, all those things. He never a war which he didn't like. He was, of course, quite bad at war himself, but that doesn't matter. No, that guy. Yeah, that's why you are. And then you'll say to him, oh, under the control of Israel. Israel is controlling us. Yeah, we are. At a certain point, when it comes to the Middle East, yes, definitely. So, yeah. But above him, who's controlling you? Well, if you're the second beast of the Bible, then you are bowing down. You're bowing down to who? The Antichrist himself, the Pope. And tell me, the Pope, the Antichrist, who's he serving? What does the Bible say? Where does he get his power from? Satan. Oh, Lucifer. Oh. So you see now. Yeah. Who's in control of you, Satan? Yeah. Through what? The first beast. Yes. How many of your presidents were very serious Catholics? How many of your vice presidents? How many of your runners-up? How many in Congress? How many of those people who crossed the border were Catholics? Almost all of them. Yeah. How do you treat the Pope, Antichrist, when he actually visits? Oh, you put him on a higher pedestal than any other. Yeah, I've got the pictures. I remember when that village idiot, the previous one, arrived there with a Fiat. Yeah, he was driving a Fiat car. And everybody says, wow, what a man of the people. Tell me, idiot, what does Fiat mean? Fiat, the word Fiat. What does it mean? What does it stand for? Huh? You don't know. Okay, let me tell you. Read Oath of Evil, please. You really need this information. It means it's power. It is like a order. That's what it means. I'll give you a Fiat. I'll give you an order. You think he was driving a Fiat car? He could have driven a Toyota Prius. He could have driven a Ford, whatever. But no, he drove a Fiat. That's your cult working. Show you signs. You understand. The rest of the people don't understand. Let me show you a sign. You see this? This means I'm part of the Freemasons. I'm not, by the way, but this is the signal they give you. Yeah, what about this one? Scratching my eye like this. Greta. What about the other one? Bono. Go and look at every damn actor, every damn president, every whatever. Go and look at them. They all give these little signs. And guys, unless you can speak for your cult language, you're not going to get it. You will think I'm insane. You'll think, oh, of course. No. I'm not the one who's acting like a second beast here. No, I'm not. So anyway, it doesn't matter if the third party does the torture. You're still guilty. And the problem here is that, of course, now you're involving people who's going to actually start talking about it. And then it started coming out. There was a guy called Rahman, or Rahman, not sure how you say that actually. And it's an Afghan national. He was called Gul Rahman. He was snatched from a refugee camp in Pakistan by CIA officers in 2002. And then he was taken to a secret prison near Kabul, which is known as the Salt Pit. This comes from a Senate Intelligence Committee report on CIA torture in 2014. Yeah, you can go and search for it, read it. And they say the following: what was happening to this Gul Rahman? He was shackled, he was forced to stand for days on end, he was subjected to sleep deprivation. There you go, all intelligence you can get from him, because once you reach that stage of mind, I've been through it myself, you don't function correctly, you don't really remember, and you become to see these people as your enemy as well. You forget you wear the same uniform. That's during training. In many of the books, one of the characters mentioned that he remembers people actually burying him alive. There's others who said that there was a crocodile who tried to kill him. Things like that, snakes thrown on them, spiders, whatever weakness you have. I mean, even if you are very doused with cold water, and it is one of our friends, SB Fourie, many times on Legacy Conversations, we wrote his book, Sierra Whiskey, 10 years in South African Special Forces, wonderful man. But he's the one we introduced during the dark phase, ice cold water, which is thrown on you. Now remember, you don't know this is coming. You're sitting there butt naked. You are tied down. You've been awake for a few days. You've got a hood over your head. People are being worked out. There's sounds being played of a badly tuned television set where you can hear people crying, being flogged. All these horrible torture sounds are going on. They're working you, at the next moment they douse you with ice cold water, they kick you in the ribs. You might think, oh, it's not that bad. No, it's really bad. It's really bad. Especially in a place like Afghanistan, which is cold. And when he was blasted with freezing cold water, beaten, chained to the floor. And then he died of hypothermia within a month. Yeah, this is Gal Rahman. All right. He died within a month. Guys, this is the difference between torture, in this case I'm talking about, and just slapping somebody because you need information. Let's say you walked a patrol, you had a contact with the enemy, you capture one of them, you need to know certain things, give him a few slaps and a few whatever. That's not right, but we understand that type of thing, right? If I'm still in the police and I capture a guy and I know he's kidnapped a child, I want to know where's that child, and I'm telling you now, I'll read him the judge's rules, his rights. Yes, sir, you have a right to remain silent, but listen, you F-head, I would advise you not to use that right, because I'm going to beat the hell out of you until you tell me where that child is. Yeah. And F your lawyer too. I'm not saying this actually happened, guys. I'm just saying that read my books, Mean Streets, Life in the Police. In the apartheid police, you will learn a lot of things. But I need to know where's that child. And you're going to tell me where's that child. Yeah. And you're going to show me where's that child if you killed it. Yeah. I want to see the body. And if you don't, well, we had a saying, and I'm a deeply religious man actually, so I don't mean this disrespectfully. Don't put words in my mouth. But God will not have mercy on you if you fail to answer me. Right? It's the Space Nuts method. You can talk to me, and you can die quickly afterwards. I assure you. A bullet to your brain, your back of your head, and merciful death, no problem. Even give you a cigarette, no problem. If you're a flippant atheist, I'll give you 15 minutes to make peace, because all your life you just fucked up. So, or a liberal, give you 15 minutes. If you're a deeply religious Muslim, jihadi type, 6 minutes is enough. You made peace already. Christian, sort of, 7 minutes, why not? 6, 7, there's reasons for these numbers. It all plays with the cult, by the way. If you read one of my books, you will find actually that the Madrid train bombings, they say 2,000 people were injured and about 167 died. We're not too sure. But do you know that attack took place exactly 911 days after 9/11? Huh? You know that? Well, it was supposed to. It actually took place, I think, 912 days, because they couldn't calculate. There was a skrikkeljaar, what do you call that in English? They made a mistake with their calculations, but it was supposed to be 911 days. Why? Because the occult and the terrorists are actually linked. And they use the same methodology, they use the same occult language, and they use the same numbers. They play these number games. They think, because they serve Satan, they think this is going to bring them luck and things like that. So that is what happened. They miscalculated a leap year, I think you call it in English, and then that took place, and it worked. Spain then ran away from Iraq. They withdrew. Yeah, one terrorist attack and Spain folded. So anyway, my point here is that to kill a man like that, and also read Voices, War Crimes USA, which is a book I wrote after I was told by my late wife that 1 out of every 3 US servicewomen will be raped by male colleagues. Yes. And guys, I said will be. I didn't say might be. I didn't say perhaps. I said to you, will be raped. Yeah. 1 out of every 3 US servicewomen will be raped by a male colleagues. That's the statistics. Don't be angry with me. Yeah, we will be. What the hell's wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with you? And in that book, it came out that there was about 24 or 56, I can't remember, but dozens of young service women who actually came back in body bags, coffins not allowed to be opened. Did they die in combat? No, they died on the base. We have reason to believe that they were raped and then murdered. Yes, we have reasons to believe that. Yeah. Was anybody ever held accountable? No, fuck that. Of course not. Are you stupid? We don't do that. No. Before we go into a country, this is NATO now, by which I include the US. No. We don't subject our soldiers and airmen or whatever to the local laws of a country. No, F that. No, of course not. No, we will deal with it. But you never deal with it. You never. They commit these war crimes. There was a Iraqi Air Force general, pilot. He went to you by himself on his own world. Yeah, I've got the book here. It's here. Voices, War Crimes, USA. Read it and be ashamed, because it was very easy for me to write that book, because the information is just all over. It's all over. And he was kept and tortured every day for a month. And he was not a young man anymore. And he died. So many of it did. That's my point. Why I'm saying this? Why do I keep on harping it's a month? It's a month. Because, guys, as I said to you, in the heat of a moment when you're there and you encounter the enemy and you need quick information, battlefield intelligence, it's quick. Few slaps, one clap, come. Might even say, okay, let's understand live. I'm going to shoot this guy next to you dead until you tell me. Boom. Not saying it happened, but I say, and so it's quick. But when you have to go back day after day after day after day to torture somebody. When I first spoke about this in Love 72, I actually exploded. I said, what the fuck is wrong with you? And sorry, that's the first thing which comes up to me. What the hell's wrong with you people? It's not normal, guys. It's like getting it up for a child. Hello, Mohammed. Yes. A normal man doesn't do such things. Do you get that? I see, something wrong with you up here. Normal people don't do such things. Normal people cannot stand to go back day after day after day to torture people. So if that is happening and that happened, there's only one way out for you. That is to confess, not to men. Bible says confess your sins to God. Confess your faults to men. Yeah, but do you know what? The Bible was changed. Read out of evil. So you know what? It's amazing. It's amazing that you have people there serving you, and they think they're actually doing good. Isn't that amazing? I'm sure that then these people were sent to the stake, by all these priests during the Middle Ages, during the Inquisitions and things of the Catholic Church. I'm quite sure that they also thought they were doing actually God's work. But you're doing Satan's work. That's not God's work, it's Satan's work. Anyway, there was also a black site in Thailand where I live now, here in Phuket. If you're ever here in Phuket, in Patong Beach, come and look me up. You're welcome. And there was a black site there called Cat's Eyes, or Cat's Eye. And torture went on there routinely. Who was in charge of that? Gina Aspel. Little old lady. She actually took over from Pompeius Pompeo as CIA director. There was a fellow called Ray McGovern. Listen to Ray McGovern and Larry Johnson, those people when they speak on the internet, former CIA members. He actually protested then. What happened to him? He was the elderly man by then. Must have been late in his 70s. Oh, those police in, at US Congress, I don't know what they call themselves, the ones who actually let these January the 6 people in and showed them around, those people who went to jail afterwards. Capitol Police, what do you call it? The one who actually killed an unarmed US veteran female just because he climbed through a window. She's not armed. She constitutes no danger to you, but you shoot her dead. Get away with it too. Amazing. In another book, I actually looked at the US police, all the sheriff departments. I think it is Safety Net. or terrorist takedown, both of them probably, written under my own name. And I came to the conclusion that the US police, sheriff departments can kill at will. Very different from us in the apartheid police, where you shoot somebody, yeah, you can go to jail, you can actually be hanged. Many of them were. Yeah, we used to hate the courts and the legal system in that sense. We would say that we have to make a decision to shoot or not to shoot. And when you shoot, you don't leave any, people behind to tell lies in court afterwards. Not saying it was like that, I'm just mentioning it. Read mean streets. Then, the court has all the time in the world to decide whether you were justified. And if you were not justified, there would be serious legal consequences for you. And that kept us from killing people indiscriminately. So if you think we could go out in the police in the old days and just kill people, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. You are an idiot. You fell for this propaganda from communists. Really, you're stupid. Because it wasn't like that. Ask me. I was there. I served. I was a sergeant in the police. I was on ground level. I was the one who was doing the beat, a street policeman, as we would be called. Yeah, we weren't sitting in offices. We were facing danger every day. And you know what's a funny thing? We also would go to the border, as we call it, and we would fight there as infantry, and we were damn good infantry, mechanized infantry, fantastically good actually. And then we would come back and we would face terrorism of the worst kind, or we face the worst kind of criminals. Yeah, it never stopped for us. That's why by the age of 24, when I left, I wrote in the book and I said, I'm dead. I'm 53 years old and I'm 24, and my eyes are dead, and I don't have feelings anymore, and I have to go. Yeah, that's what happens. You fight for 6 years constantly, you see these things. But anyway, point I'm making is, this Gina Aspels, she's retired now, I suppose. I haven't heard from her since. She was overseeing this as well. So you think that the female is in charge and the female will not allow this type of thing? Oh man, you have to think about that again. Okay, right, and then we also found out that the FBI is actually behind most of the criminal terrorist activities in the US. Why do I say that? Because most of them are actually sting operations. I'm not going to go into that into detail, but the Boston Marathon was one of a few incidents where they were not involved. But mostly when you see anything like January 6th or whatever, you will find FBI agents or people in their pay actually instigating it. And then they capture these people, they arrest them, they go to trial, these guys end up in jail for a long time. And they stand there and say, we're the FBI, see how good we are. We are the premier law enforcement agency in the world. Yeah, okay, sure. I'll put the slide in here. It is actually a report by Columbia Law School Human Rights Institute. They came out with this research. So tell me, how many countries are actually involved in this rendition program? You can read about it in log 72. And yeah, guys, I know we are over an hour now. I'm sorry about that, but you need to get the full picture. You can always come back and pause or whatever. And spread the word. Guys, please spread the word. If you think there's somebody who needs to know this information, just send the video on to him. He's welcome to read the books or to listen here and perhaps, find out what's the truth. Because what's in my books are virtually that what mainstream is hiding from you. That's why they're so suppressed, which is fine. I don't care really. But anyway, there's a former CIA agent called Robert Baer. And he said, if you want a serious interrogation, you send a prisoner to Jordan. If you want him to be tortured, you send him to Syria. Of course, today especially. If you want someone to disappear, never to see them again, you send him to Egypt. In other words, to kill them. Yeah. There you go. And then there's a place called, of course, George Soros' Open Society. Now, I don't like George Soros. I think he's we know that he's, let me not go into that. That is a dreadful person. But anyway, they did an investigation and they said there's 54 countries involved with this. So let me give you their names. It is all alphabetic. Afghanistan, Albania, Algeria, Australia. Australia. Hello. Austria. The neutral ones, the ones who said that those who didn't get that poison injection should be executed. Yeah, Austria. Where's your famous son again? Adolf Hitler. Yeah, of course. Azerbaijan, yeah. Belgium, Bosnia Herzegovina, Canada. Oh, Canada. What happened to Canada? Oh, human rights people. You know, those people who applauded for that Nazi war criminal there in the parliament. What's that idiot, that illegitimate son of Fidel Castro, or so they say. I wouldn't know. He looks like him. Yeah, him. Yeah. Trudeau. Is that his name? Yeah, Canada. Don't be holier than thou. No. You pieces of whatever. Yeah, you were involved. You're still involved in this program. Yeah, we know. Croatia, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Denmark. So we actually make more than cookies, huh? Denmark. Like to point finger at Russia. Russia. Here you go. Yeah. So you opened your borders for the CIA to come and torture people and kill people in your country. You think these CIA agents, you think they can actually do it without your permission, without a wink going on? Yeah? You think that? No, yeah. If you think that, you're stupid. Really, let me tell you, you're an idiot. No, this is done at the highest level. You say to them, you're welcome, you can come and bring these people here, and you can kill them and torture them. We'll turn a blind eye. Yeah, Denmark. Djibouti. Yeah. Egypt, Ethiopia, Finland, Gambia, Georgia, Germany. I'm not surprised. Greece, Hong Kong, Iceland. Oh, what do you know? Iceland? I thought you were peaceful people. Well, you're part of Denmark, so. Indonesia, yeah. Iran. Oh, that's weird. Is that not your enemy? Ireland. Oh, the neutral Irish. Oh, yeah. It's fantastic the names which comes up here, isn't it? Yeah, Ireland. Italy, of course. Jordan, Kenya, of course. Kenya is a little lapdog of the US. Shame. And Kenya, by the way, is not part of a Muslim truce. I really have to make a video about that. I probably will. And that's why Kenya was in the pocket of the US of a second beast. How much terrorism problems do you have in Kenya? Huh? A lot. Cannot handle it. Huh? No. Cannot handle it. No. Well, you're sleeping with the enemy. Yeah, that's what you're doing. You're sleeping with the enemy, idiot. That's why it's happening. Libya, yeah, of course. Well, Libya, doesn't really exist anymore, does it? In Libya, you have two rival governments going on. Yes, you have slave markets. Yeah. Do you know that? Do you actually know that when NATO air forces, when they attacked and destroyed Libya, I think in 2012, was it? Yeah. Do you know that was based upon false intelligence, made up intelligence, never proven, never true? Yeah, and they did that. Now you know. Yeah, Libya. Okay, what else? Let's see. Lithuania, yeah, of course. Macedonia, of course. Malawi, yeah. Malaysia, Mauritania, yeah. Morocco, Pakistan, yeah. Flip, of course. A country which burns more US embassies than any other. Yeah, two of them. Do you know that? No, you don't. Poland, of course, Catholic country. What do you expect? Portugal, lapdog. Romania, Saudi Arabia, of course. These are the people who crucify people. Don't you know that? They're big mate. Somalia, yeah. South Africa. Well, we'll talk about that quickly. Spain, Sri Lanka, Sweden. Oh, I thought you liberals, so you wouldn't. Of course. Syria again. Thailand, yeah, we spoke about them. Turkey, of course. United Arab Emirates, yeah, there you go. United Kingdom. Oh, I thought you were such upright, fine, standing gentlemen, officers and gentlemen. You will never do that. No, of course not. Your record shows you are assholes and you will. Of course you will. Uzbekistan, yeah. Yemen, of course. Zimbabwe. So tell me, where's it excluded? Let's look at that. Hungary? Yeah, that's fascinating. France? Yeah. Israel? Netherlands? Norway? Russia? Yeah, interesting, huh? And of course the US. Okay, let's quickly talk about South Africa. Yes, there were two incidents, which we know about, 2003 and 2005. It must have been under Mbeki. There were two Pakistani gentlemen who were arrested. They were handed over to what people later said were CIA members. One was called Saud Memon. This guy, Saud Memon, he was suspected to be involved in the murder of Wall Street Journal reporter Daniel Pearl. And it says that the Open Society Foundation, the Soros people anyway, say that in 2003, South Africa appeared, listen to that word, appeared, to give US intelligence agencies carte blanche to pursue Memon and abduct him and transfer him to Pakistan, where he died. Just after that he died. He was basically arrived there when he was released and then he died. You know, it's a bit duck for a dollar. It's a bit unbelievable. I don't think he just died like that. Then in 2005, there's a guy called Khalid Rashid. He was been kidnapped from his home in Escort, which is in KwaZulu-Natal. Was flown with a light aircraft to a major Air Force base at Waterkloof, place I know very well. And from there on, he was taken to Kenya. And he was held for 5 months and then he ended in Pakistan. Now, there is a Muslim group in the UK called Cage, and they said at the time the South African Minister of Home Affairs claimed that Rashid was arrested and deported because he resided in the country illegally. And this, they moved it from being a rendition thing to being illegal living there and therefore deported. Well, 4 years later, the Supreme Court of Appeal found that his deportation was unlawful. There you go. Well, guys, what's coming out here? What's coming out? There were a legal system going in South Africa. They could take this to court. Can you take it to court in other countries? Hello? Can you go to court at Cuba or Thailand? No, idiot. You cannot. That's the entire thing about the rendition program. It's outside the law, and therefore you can act outside the law. You see where this is leading to? Fascinating. So it was illegal. This entire story was illegal. Now, I don't think anybody was ever held liable for their actions. And also that both these people, Memon and Rashid, were never charged with any crime. And so both of them would deserve a full hearing. Of course, it's impossible now because I think both are dead. There's another question here which people don't understand is that this was arranged. If this happened, it was actually arranged. So in other words, the US actually had to ask permission of the South Africans to go and do it. So they didn't just come in and just did it, like they would do in other countries. They had to show some respect. And I can tell you that if they do come into South Africa these days, this is a BRICS nation, and it's got, and a lot of people will laugh now, but they actually got a good spy agency. And if you are captured, it's going to play out as I describe in my books, which is based upon, Love 72 is based upon a training scenario. But later I heard it actually did happen, where you try and establish the safe house of yours. The safe house is then overcome, it's attacked, you are taken prisoner, and you're either killed or you are displayed for the world to see. It's a matter of time before this is going to happen. I've been warning you for a long time. So it doesn't really matter from a legal viewpoint that you can say to me it's a third party or this is not US laws. You are breaking the law. Now, of course, when you work in covert action, everything you do is illegal. I say that to you as well. It is illegal, but does it need to be inhuman? Does it need to actually assist the enemy? That's my question to you. And obviously this is This is cruel, it's inhuman, and it's degrading, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work because torture will reveal information which you think is intelligence is not. That's your first problem. Your second problem, you're creating even more hatred against you. And your third problem is you have to live with the consequences. And that is something which most people don't quite understand. Now, did that have consequences? Yeah, let's talk about, there's a guy called the Second Lieutenant Al-Shamrani. Now, he was from a Saudi Air Force. He was in the US at Pensacola Naval Base, late 2019. Go and research, guys. Don't just believe me. And he shot 3 American servicemen dead there on that base. And he left a note. He left a note on why he did it before he, of course, was killed. And he said the following in that note of his. He said, I'm not against you for just being American. I don't hate you because of your freedoms. You know, let me laugh again. You have no flipping freedoms, man. I hate you because every day you're supporting, funding, and committing crimes, not only against Muslims, but also against humanity. Yeah. I'm against evil. So this guy was calling you evil. And of course, you will say to me that the Iranians always call death to America, and they talk about the great Satan. Yeah, very wrong. You're a second beast. You're not actually the great Satan. But you're acting like it. Anyway. So he says, I'm against evil, and America as a whole has turned into a nation of evil. Guys, now we're back where I explained to you a flag on your shoulder, right? Well, I say to you, these people are doing it in your name. Therefore, you are as guilty as they. End of story. You cannot tell me there's no collective guilt here. If your armed forces go out and they do by policy these type of things, or your spies go out and by policy do these type of things, you as the citizen is also guilty of whatever they do. It's just the way it is, unless you stand up and you distance yourself. But then we expect you to actually do something about it. Then we expect you to actually start saying, guys, I don't agree with this. I'm going to expose you. I'm going to, help the people who is actually exposing it. It's not me. I don't want your money. I don't need your donations. But there are lots of organizations who actually are trying to bring out the truth, trying to close these things, trying to stop this. There's a lot of CIA members who actually went to jail because they said, we're not going to do this, and they started talking. And of course, the entire law came down on them, and they ended up in jail. Yeah, many of them. These are the people you should support. Not me, I don't care. I'm not American, and I would never be. I don't even visit your country. In fact, I'm banned there. When my late wife died in Florida, I was not even allowed to go there to bury her. Yeah, think about that. Think about that. So what this guy also says, after he said you're a nation of evil, he says, what I see from America is the supporting of Israel, which is invasion of Muslim countries. Yeah, I see invasion of many countries, be it by its troops, meaning Israel, and I see Guantanamo Bay, I see cruise missiles, cluster bombs, and UAVs, that is those drones. Your decision makers, the politicians, the lobbyists, and the major corporations are the ones gaining from your foreign policy, and you are the ones paying the price for it. And then he asked, what benefit is it to American people to suffer for the sake of supporting Israel? Do you expect to transgress against others and yet spare retribution? How many more body bags of American families willing to receive? Well, how long can the US survive this war of attrition? There you go. That's Bin Laden actually speaking. He's saying what Bin Laden was saying. We're going to get you into a continuous war. You're going to spend all your money. You're going to become dictatorial because you're going to have to enforce all of these things, and that's where we're going to break you. Of course, this guy, as well as Bin Laden, had no clue about the Bible and the predictions in it. They didn't know about it, right? And both of them, of course, are dead. For us, we do understand the biblical predictions. It's actually very easy to see where you're going. It's very easy. We can read you like an open book. But anyway, that's what he said. He carried on and he said the US Treasury spent billions of dollars in order to give Americans a false sense of security. The security is actually shared destiny. Yeah, that it is. We're all human beings, man. We're all created by God. Let us live in peace. But you don't want to live in peace because why? You're the second beast. You're going to act like a second beast. You're going to implement the will of Satan on other people. That's going to lead to strife. There'll be wars, rumors of war. There will be Sunday laws. In other words, You will try to force people to follow the Antichrist, to say, we're going to have a rest day once a week, and that will be on a Sunday. Yeah, okay. Why Sunday? Why not Monday? Why not Saturday? Why not? Why? No, Sunday. Oh, okay, why? No, you can't answer me, idiot. Can you? No, you can't. No. Why? Because you don't know the Bible. You don't know. You don't understand where Sunday comes from. You don't understand that the Bible never talks about Sunday, Monday, whatever. Tell me, what does Sunday mean? Did you ever think about it? It's a day of a what? What do I hear? The sun. So it's a day of the sun God. Huh? The sun God. And when God says to you, remember my Sabbath day. And the Sabbath day is what? The seventh day. What is the seventh day? Saturday. When did it start according to the old way we looked at time before the Catholic Church went and changed it? When did the day start? At sunrise, right? No, idiot. It started when sun went down. That's when the new day started. And it was the first day. Go and read Genesis. So it starts on a Friday night. It runs over to a Saturday night. That's your Sabbath day. Yeah. That's the last day. Honor my Sabbath. Don't forget about my Sabbath day. Why would the Lord God say, don't forget my Sabbath day? That he knew. Of course he knew. Did he know that at some stage in the future some idiot is going to come, some Antichrist, and they're going to say, no, we move this day, and we're going to make it Sunday. Yes. The day of the sun God, which I actually serve. And you people just follow it. And then they go out and they say, this is the mark of my authority. So that's the mark of the first beast authority, huh? So it's the mark of a beast. And then you get very angry with me when I say these things. You tell me I'm from a cult. But there's 22 million of us. We're the biggest Protestant church in the world. You know that. You know that even the Catholics, the bishops and things are saying that if you want to follow the Bible and the Bible alone, you will not go to church on a Sunday. You will go on a Sabbath day. Yeah, we'll go on a Saturday. So what did the world, tell me, what did the world do on a Saturday? This holy day of God, the day which you're supposed to spend with God, which is fantastic. It's the greatest day in my life every week. It's fantastic. What do you do on a Saturday? Oh no, we go shopping, and then we go for a rugby match or a cricket match, and then we go to the discos. I'm betraying my age now, guys. And then we pick up this woman and we just do her, Okay, well, that's after sunset, so there's no other problems there. But you get what I mean. All the big sporting functions are when? On a Saturday. Guys, do you think that is by chance? You think that's by chance? No, it's not. So anyway, it's already happening with you. In the US, because of this rendition program of yours, there's always constant terrorist attacks and innocents are being killed. And that's why I get so pissed off about it. Because you know what, if you had success because of it, then we can still live with it. But the fact of the matter is you don't have success. You're creating more terrorism. You're putting your people absolutely into harm's way. And it cannot be defended. There is no way in this world that we can defend this bloody nonsense of going to snatch a guy who you think is a terrorist and your intelligence is mostly wrong anyway. And then you go out and you just murder these people, you torture them to death, or you keep them forever. And it's a claim and it's a shame. It's a shame on you as a nation. It's a shame. It's bad. It's really, really bad. And then let me tell you, all of these things, I told you waterboarding comes from the Inquisition of the Catholic Church. And again, guys, when I say the Catholic Church, I don't mean the individual Catholic. I mean the system. And then I also mean the first beast of the Bible, because that is what you are identified for. So that comes directly from them. And I remember I said to you that most of your leaders in the CIA was actually very, very religious Catholics, totally under the influence of the Antichrist of the Pope. Well, let me give you some names. First, of course, you had Bill Donovan from the OSS, Office of Strategic Services. Yeah, we had him. And then we had Walter Bedell Smith. He was a former general. John McComb, William Colby, William Casey, James Jesus Angleton, Michael Hayden, Leon Panetta. Not long ago, John Brennan. There you go. John Brennan. Some say he's actually a secret Muslim. I don't know. And now all of these people were either very serious Catholics. They get high decorations from the Catholic societies, or they are members of the Knights of Malta, or whatever, which is a Catholic front. Read my books. You will understand what I'm talking about. Knights of Colombia. Yeah, they might say to you, no, we're actually Protestant. They're not. They're being controlled by the Jesuits. And the Jesuits, of course, there's a black pope who actually controls the white pope. Guys, you really need this information if you want to survive, or at least understand in this world, because it is, as Trotsky has said many, many years ago, but it's still true, that you might not be interested in war, but war is interested in you. And there is a war going on. That's what I'm trying to say to you. There's a war going on. And even this rendition system, if you look at it from a higher viewpoint of good and evil, then you have to say to yourself, well, if you're really serving Satan, even if you don't know it, and I'll give you credit, perhaps you don't know it, and perhaps I've shocked the hell out of you, which is a good thing, please investigate again. First time I'm saying what I'm saying, so that you don't just take my word. Go investigate yourself. Go look at that series I told you to look at or asked you. Then, of course, then it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense, because then you're just fucking up like always. And because of that, you're creating more enemies, more of you die, and who's applauding there in the background? Who's clapping hands? Who's enjoying this? You know, this makes me think of Leonard Cohen. He wrote a song called The Captain. And I'm quoting from memory now, but in The Captain is a great song, Leonard Cohen, by the way. Great fan of him. He actually said something like, whatever makes a killer smile will make a soldier cry. Yeah, it's true. Because things are being done in your name here, which should make you deeply ashamed, which should make you stop this. But of course you won't, because you can't. You cannot stop it. Once you're on that road, once that door is open, you just keep on going. It just keeps on going. So the question is, where does this idea comes from? Also, from where comes the idea from that you can just go and kill and murder innocents in cold blood? Well, you know, it's interesting. There was a conversation which came into light between William Colby and Ray Klein, as well as a guy called David Atlee Phillips. Now, Colby was a director of Central Intelligence between 1973 and 76. This Colby was a director of Central Intelligence. The other two were former deputy directors of Central Intelligence, in plain English, they're just very high in the US intelligence community. And they were discussing something. They were talking about murder. So what they were asking themselves is, when is it acceptable to assassinate a head of state? Now, just the other day, it came out, of course, that this Zelensky clown of Ukraine, by the way, that war didn't started in 2022, 2014 already. Yes. By the way, he's not even a legitimate. He's not a legitimate president. No, his term is run out. And besides that, he took over from people who took over from a coup d'état. But tell me, US, tell me, idiots. Do you recognize that when that happens in Africa? Huh? When there's a military revolt and they take over, do you recognize that government? No, it's a coup d'état. No. But Ukraine, same story. Why? Oh, because you were behind it. Yeah, okay. Rules for me and fuck all for you. Rules, what do you say? Rule, what? Rules, order, what? That crap. Yeah, no one believes you anymore. No one believes you. Anyway, so it came out that they tried to kill Putin more than once, Colonel Putin. And now all you liberals will say to me, oh, he's such an evil man. No, he's not. He's a wonderful guy. In fact, he's a Christian. And I'm touching my nose because I need to scratch it. It's got nothing to do with me not telling the truth, by the way. You know that story, if you look somebody right in the eye like this, you're actually honest. And if you look around like this, you're dishonest. Listen, idiot, that's not true. That might be in detective novels or where you come from in US intelligence community, very low standards. Yeah, we know about you. If I say US, I mean West. Yes, we look down upon you. Read my books, why? No, that means nothing. Me touching my nose means nothing, just means I want to scratch it. Yeah, doesn't mean I'm lying. But anyway, the one thing I hear constantly from the US, especially these people, they talk about Colonel Putin, and then they would say things like, he was a KGB colonel. Well, there were thousands of them. Yeah, but he was a head of a secret police. Well, he was an intelligence officer. Okay, so George Bush, Senior, was he head of the CIA for a short time? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, idiot. Why is that not a problem? Because he's American. Oh, okay. Is he the guy who at the UN who talked about the New World Order? Remember that speech of him? New World Order. Yeah, he did. He actually mentioned it in the UN. He said there's a New World Order. Conspiracy, huh? Was he not a member? Did I not tell you he was a member of Skulls and Bones? Yeah. What are they? Well, they're a cult organization, apparently. And yeah, and when his little son was also a member, wrote his memoirs, and it's worth reading. He said, well, I became a member, but I can't tell you about him. Why not? It's secret. Okay, what's secret about him? What does the Bible say again about secret organization? So we have to look at things, from both ways. And that's perhaps the value of the GMJ books, is that since I'm not American, I'm not Western, not actually BRICS either, I'm somewhere in the middle. For us, what we see from the outside is perhaps not what you see. But that is the prevailing view. And so it's important that you know about it. But anyway, we were talking about Colby and Klein and Phillips. We were discussing when it's acceptable to assassinate a head of state. Now, we know in history that this idiot, Winston Churchill, and I will make a video of Winston Churchill because he's a criminal. He's a war criminal. There's nothing special about Winston Churchill. Nothing. If once I reveal his shyster behavior to you, you will agree with me. But, people don't know history. That's the thing. And he actually had a plan. I think it's called Operation Foxley, and he was trying to murder Adolf Hitler. Yeah, it never came to fruition, but yeah, that's what he was trying to do. Yes, I think I mentioned it in the sniper book, codenamed Butterfly. You have to go and look at it. But anyway, the logical answer is it's never okay to assassinate rather a head of state. It is just one of those things, you just don't assassinate the king or the head of a state. And it's fascinating that this Zelensky clown has tried to assassinate Putin more than once. There was this drone attack on his helicopter while he was flying somewhere. There's also others which I know about, which never made the news, but might come out. And I haven't seen Putin responding yet, but he might, because he's saying things like, Zelensky is not the legitimate head of a government. Now, that is a clear warning. That is as clear a warning as you can get from these people. And when the war just started, Zelensky was hiding away for about 3 or 4 days in his bunker, too flippant scared to go out. Yeah, how do we know this? Because the Israeli prime minister actually went there, and later on he said no, he found him there. And then the Israeli prime minister called Mr. Putin. He said, will you not kill this guy? He's scared. He's sitting here in the basement. And Putin says he can come out, or I will not kill him. But that stopped. That, I think, has stopped the moment that Zelensky didn't do the re-elections and he became basically a dictator, which he is now. So anyway, the logical answer is don't assassinate heads of state. It's a useless thing anyway because it's not going to make any damn difference. I say this in codename Wrangler. I say it in many books. To murder or assassinate a president is one of the stupidest things you can do. Why? Because the man has no power, man. He's a flippant politician. He's a flippant talking head. He's an idiot. He's like something like Daddy Trump. It doesn't matter. He's not in charge. He's nothing. He's nothing. And the moment he dies, a new guy comes along. And then that guy dies and a new guy comes along. If you want to hurt a country, kill the spy masters, the genuine ones, not the political appointees. Go and kill someone like in my books, Angelique Dawson, if you can. Yeah, don't even try. Because don't even try. These people are well protected. They're not the US president with a Mickey Mouse US Secret Service around them. No, no. Oh my word. That attack on Daddy Trump, and I'm sarcastic now, you know why I call him Daddy Trump. Because of his, Rutte, what's his name? Of NATO. Oh, Daddy Trump. Oh, Daddy. Hey, boys. You know he's from the Netherlands. And do you know that according to Jane's Defense Weekly or whatever, the South African military is more powerful than what? What do I hear? Norway? Yeah. Netherlands? Yeah. We added another country there. I think it's Switzerland, but Switzerland doesn't have a military. Still a shame. It might be Sweden, I'm not sure, but there were 3 different countries where South Africa was actually rated above them. Yeah, go and read my books, especially the early ones. I do mention it quite a few times. So this guy, of course, now is trying to suck up to Trump, and he's doing it very well, I have to say. Very, very well. So that's why I call the guy Daddy. It is sarcastic. Yeah, so anyway, you shouldn't do that, but you shouldn't be even thinking about murdering the head of state, but that's exactly what these 3 CIA members, very high ranking, were talking about. And if you think it has changed since then till now, yeah, guys, you live in a dream world. We're still thinking of that. Now, right. What's your problem then? Tell me then, what's the problem with these guys being devout Catholics? On the face of it, nothing. As long as he keeps it separate from his life. In other words, he shouldn't bring his Catholic beliefs into his job. Because once you do that, you are crossing the line of separation between church and state. That is the damn problem here. So that is if you come to me as a Seventh-day Adventist and you say to me, and I'm not talking on behalf of the church, right? It's just me. It's me talking. No one else. Not authorized to speak on their behalf, don't put words in my mouth. But if you come to me as a Seventh-day Adventist and you say to me, oh, okay, well, you know, this day once a week, well, why don't we make it a Saturday? Would that satisfy you? Would that be okay? I'll tell you, no, fuck off. I don't want you. No, go away. Piss off. Don't want that. Why not? Because I don't want people to be forced. Being a believer is a personal choice. And God doesn't want people who's being forced. If you wanted marionettes or robots or people being forced, he would not give you a freedom of choice, would he? Huh? No, he would not. No. But I can tell you now, I can take my cell phone. Yeah, it's a nice Oppo. And I can take the cell phone and I can program it and it will wake up me every morning. It will say to me, hello, Chris, I love you. We're going to have a nice day today, huh? Yeah, keep it up, man. We're all with you. I guarantee you, by day 3, I'm throwing this thing out of the window. It's not real, man. It's not real. And it's the same with that. If you have like a doll or something, this plastic doll, and you think that's your wife, and every morning this doll says, hello, do me. Guys, I'm sure you understand what I mean. This is not... The kingdom of God is actually a very, very special place in the sense that it's not open for all. There are certain things you actually have to do to enter the kingdom of God. One is you have to accept Jesus. Yeah, that's what the Bible says. And if you don't accept Jesus, and we want to see it not only by words, we want to see by deeds as well. Yeah, because I'll look at you. Yeah, I see you living in sin with a woman. I see you having this little thing going on with your secretary. Yeah, I see that. I hear your language coming out of your mouth. Yeah, I know it's ironical. I use the F word now and then here in my videos because I get worked up and it's for shock value. Normally I don't speak like that at all. Yeah, I want to see it in your life, guys, because you know what? A banana tree will produce bananas. Yeah, we have 2 of them down there. 3 stories below the studio. I don't see it in your lives. I don't see it. I look at you, you people of the second beast. I don't see anything of God in you. I'm sorry. But do you know that the Seventh-day Adventists in your country actually live, what, 15 years longer than all of you? Do you know that? Yeah, yeah. Tell me why. Why? Well, they vegans. Yeah. Does that mean they eat insects? No, idiot. No, they don't eat insects. They eat the biblical diet. Was there any murder taking place before before Satan arrived there with sin in paradise? Was there any murder? Was there any goat or antelope or anything? Where was it killed to be eaten? No, nothing. No. Okay. So tell me, what did Adam and Eve eat? Oops. There were no meat involved. Huh? Okay. So tell me, do you think perhaps then that God designed you not to eat meat? Think about it. I know there's a lot of you getting very angry now. Yeah. Some of my friends even get very angry. Send me these little silly messages of some stupid professor somewhere trying to tell me I should eat meat. And I can send you many messages back, silly little ones of my own professors of my own universities who will tell you, no, don't eat meat. Why not? What's in the meat these days? Huh? Tell me what hormones and things are injected in these animals. Huh? Tell me. So tell me, last question. When you go to heaven, besides the fact that you're going to follow the Sabbath day now, because that is not changing, the 10 commandments have not changed, never going to change, everlasting. So you're going to follow the Sabbath, whether you like to or not. But tell me, do you think that in heaven, when you have a physical body there, right? So you're not a ghost. No, you get a new body. Paul said so. Within an instant of an eye, with a blink of an eye, you will have a new body. Cannot get old, cannot get ill, cannot have pain. Must be fantastic, huh? Must be fantastic. Especially when you're our age now and you are in pain or, you have only that many years left. Yeah, you have to think about these things. But you think in heaven you're going to have butcheries? Do you think that's going to happen, huh? What about after 1,000 years and now Jerusalem comes down to earth again? Satan and these people are waiting there because they say resurrected for the second time. Read Oath of Evil if you don't know what I'm talking about. The saints come walking out, marching out of a city, of the holy city of Jerusalem, and fire comes from heaven and devours all these people who laughs at us now and who wants to kill us because we follow the Bible and the Bible alone. And now there's a new earth. And now you can also farm a bit, you will have like an earth which is taking care of itself like it used to before it was cursed. Yeah, do you think you're going to walk up there to the sheep and cut its throat? Huh? Do you think that? That's no. You're gonna eat what? Vegan? Yeah. So become vegan now. That does not mean eating insects. Really, it doesn't. Come here to Phuket at our vegan cafe. Once it's open, I'll feed you. You will be surprised on what you eat. Now, this William Colby, as I said to you, is a very devout Catholic. And I say to you in this book also, Love 72, this is a perfect example where people start mixing church and state. And you shouldn't do it, because there's nothing in the US Constitution which says you can go and murder head of state or anybody else. There's consequences for that. So he says, this Colby, in that conversation which we have recordings of, he says, the Catholic Church, hello, first beast, here we go. Remember, not the people, the system, right? Sun God worship. Had long since wrestled with this question. What is the question? Can we go and murder a head of state, or let's make it anybody else, but they were talking of a head of state. And they had agreed. This is the Catholic Church. This is not me speaking, guys. This is Colby. He's saying, had agreed that it is acceptable to assassinate a tyrant. Let me repeat this for you. I think it's important. William Colby, the devout Catholic, discussing with his mates whether it's allowed to go and murder a head of state, yeah, against the US Constitution, yes, mixing state and church, yes, classic example. And he says, yes, the Catholic Church has long since wrestled with this question, so we were thinking about it. And they had agreed. Yeah, they said it's okay. It is acceptable to assassinate a tyrant. Well, guys, who decides who's the tyrant? Let me end this very, very long video. I apologize. I really tried to make it only an hour. But if you're still listening here, it means you actually are interested. And again, spread the word if you think there's value to what I say. I was recruited in 1989 to the police hit squads. That's what they call them. Actually, when they approached me, they said it was a unit which is involved with the finding and wiping out of terrorists and terrorism. Opspoor en uitwis van terrorisme. That's what it was in Afrikaans. And I thought it was a great idea because I thought to myself, and this is also a classic fuck up how you should never think. Don't think like this ever. But we were thinking at that stage, having been fighting for 5 years, seeing all the evil, we're thinking like, well, if there's a terrorist there and we know this guy's a terrorist and we know he's going to commit a crime, a terrorist act, which is a crime, of course, and he's going to plant a bomb, innocents are going to die. I cannot arrest him because if I arrest him, I have to prove my case in court. I cannot always do that because some of the evidence is gotten illegally. And I might also have somebody in his organization which I will blow. And I can't do that because then I cannot prevent other attacks. You understand where I'm going here now? And all of this, of course, is extremely logical. It's based upon rationalism. Remember that word rationalism because that's a Catholic thing. And it is an extremely bad way of thinking about life because once you're rationalizing like this, it will lead to murder. Let me explain. And then you think that rationally speaking now, then it's perhaps a good thing if this guy doesn't plant a bomb. Okay, so how are we going to do it? Well, we can arrest him on detention without trial, but we got such bad publicity from this. We don't think we should do this. And besides, it's not all that efficient, is it? Because the guy now becomes a damn hero. No, we don't want to do that. Okay, let him have an accident. Okay. Can we arrange an accident? Yeah, of course. How do we arrange an accident? Well, you know what? Perhaps he has a car accident. Perhaps a bomb explodes in his hands. Perhaps he just gets shot dead. He ran into the police. He didn't want to surrender. He didn't want to be arrested, and we shot him dead. Yeah. Or perhaps we just go and kidnap him and torture him until he tells us, we need to get some value from this fellow, we need value, man. And therefore, we just grab him, we work with him, and we feed him to the crocodiles. That is the thinking behind this type of thing, and I think you all will agree to me, that makes sense. But guys, it's not right. It's not right in the eyes of God, and it's not the way what you should do. So I went, and first my ex-brother came to me, and at that stage he was an advocate, an attorney, a barrister, a lawyer in the secret police. He was doing his national service. It's not that he wanted to be there, he just happened to be a lawyer, and they grabbed him, and they drafted him, like the draft, and he went. And he said to me, listen, Chris, we're going to release Mandela. Guys, you don't understand the shock that is for us in those days. This is like having sex with a black woman in church. It's your worst nightmare, man. There's just no way in the world. There's just no way in the world we thought that could have ever happened. We were that indoctrinated. We are as indoctrinated then as what Israel is today, which they cannot see what the rest of the world is seeing, what is happening with them, which is evil. And so I was very shocked. And I also went to my father, who was like a regional magistrate, a very senior one, very good lawyer. And I said to him, Dad, I was recruited to this unit. What do you think? I can work in service. They will promote me because they've been holding my promotion back for an incident with a general. So don't speak about and blah, blah, blah. And, sounds good to me. And I explained to him what sometimes you have to do what is necessary. You have to fight fire with fire. Obviously, this was bothering me. And he was very serious. He even took his glasses off. I will never forget. He looked at me like this. And I had the feeling, I say this in other videos as well, but please forgive me, guys. I don't know what video you've seen. And he looked at me like this and he said to me, Chris, tell me, when you made an oath to join the South African Police Force 5 years ago, did you take an oath to murder people? And I said, no, I was there to defend. I'm a defender of people. I protect and I serve. That, by the way, was our slogan, to protect and serve. And then notice, he didn't say to protect and serve white people. He said protect and serve everyone. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, read my apartheid books, the Mean Street series, Gewetenlose Straat, or go to Legacy and look what the policemen are saying, what they are testifying, because it's not what you read in the liberal mainstream press. And if you're from overseas, you don't know anything anyway, because you know what you've seen on CNN or wherever. And let me tell you, that's as far away from the truth as it's east from west. Come and speak to us who are actually there and are telling you what actually happened. You'll find a different story. And so he said to me, look, who decides who dies? I said, the colonel, who for me as a police sergeant, the colonel was quite a big guy, you know. And I said, no, it's not the colonel. Colonel's nothing. He's nothing. This comes from a president. This comes from a state security council. This is too high. Because if something goes wrong here, I'm telling you, we're going to sell you out. And they did. They did. They sold us out. So the same question arises to me now. I want to ask you, who decides who's a tyrant? Huh? Would that be the Catholic Church? Remember what Colby said, that the tyrant can be assassinated. Probably for the good of a community. Whenever you hear that word, good of a community, it's something which comes from Thomas Aquinas. Run away from it, it's bullshit. It is socialism, and it comes down to going back to the Middle Ages. But read Oath of Evil, I go into that a lot of more detail. So this is also where it comes from, of course. It's also Thomas Aquinas who said there is something like a just war. But hello, idiot. Let me explain to you something as quite a good attorney, what I used to be. There is no such thing as a just war. Right? Did you hear about the League of Nations? Do you know what's the League of Nations? It came into being after the First World War. US was never part of it. And then came, of course, the United Nations, which is a horrible occultic place. Don't like it at all. I throw up when I mention the name. It was Winston Churchill, that occultist, 33-degree Freemason, who came up with the name, United Nations. And then the other 33-degree nation, 33-degree Freemason. In other words, he would be a Satan worshipper. Franklin Delano Roosevelt is credited for doing that. Yeah, go and read the books. I'll tell you about the US Navy fighting in behalf of a little dog, the UK, during World War II, before Pearl Harbor. Yeah, USS Greer. Yeah, you know that? No, probably not. Go and read my books, man. You'll be educated. What did you do just the other day there in the Red Sea? Were you fighting on behalf of another nation? Israel? Yeah, you were. And then the Houthis, what did they do? They defeated you. You had to run away. Yeah, sometimes it's too funny. But you know what? The point I'm trying to make here is that who decides who's a tyrant? One man's terrorist might be another man's freedom fighter. You know that. That's why you lost every single damn war ever. Why? Because you don't know this. You don't understand this. You think you can go and kill and you can murder and rob and do whatever the hell you want, torture people, and you think you're going to get away with it just like that. Well, you're not. On a higher level, you'll never get past court with this. You're going to pay the price. Unless, of course, you confess and you change your ways, which I hope you will do. But most of you won't, because you are patriots, But what you're doing, guys, it's not legitimate. It's wrong. It's not Protestant thinking either, not even Islamic. Even the jihadis will say to you, look, we jihadis because we were attacked first. Where does that come from? Well, Bin Laden was the one who said, why the hell are you people here in the Middle East? F off home. We don't want you here. Why are you assisting Israel all the time? What's wrong with you? That's where it started. Read his letter, which he wrote to you, I think, in 2003, where he tried to explain it, and you just banned the letter. Yeah, you wouldn't let it out. And then about a year ago, it started floating around on TikTok. And now there's an entire generation who actually know. Now I understand. Why were you attacked? Because you were attacking first. That's how the jihadis talk. I know many of them. Interrogated many of them. And they all say the same thing. What do they say? They say, you know what? I was just a normal guy. I was just working wherever, and the next moment there's bombs dropping, and my auntie is dead, or my wife is dead, or my children is dead, or all of them. Or they captured me and they kicked the shit out of me and they made me eat pork and I don't know what else. You know. And that's where I picked up a rifle and I said, well, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. And then what happens? You start getting killed. And then what happens? You panic. And you start killing even more. And then what happens? You see where this is going to, guys? It is stupid. It is in a, it's a wheel of, it's a wheel of evil. It's a wheel of terror. It's a wheel of idiocy. It's the same which is happening with Israel today. They've become what they always didn't want to be. You know, but they've become that which they hated most, and they don't see it. It's amazing. Do you also know where was this thing comes out that the method is justify the means? Do you know where that comes from? From a Roman poet, Ovid. He comes out with it where he says the outcome justifies the action, or the end justifies the means. It's a famous communist saying. That's where it comes from. That's exactly what you're saying to me. Because it's not that we want to do this. It's not that we want to go there month after month for years and years and now flippant decades of torturing people. We don't actually like that. We feel a bit dirty afterwards. You know, we turn to drugs and drink and lose women and little boys and I don't know what else. Yeah, I've heard you say that to me too. It's because the Holy Spirit is working on you. Because there is no flippant justification. It does not work. Your US rendition program does not work. I've explained to you why. Now let me give you a further warning. The reason for this very, very long video. In Sub-Saharan Africa, you are a zero on a contract. But the continent is not a zero on a contract. Why? That is where you find most of the jihadis from a Muslim viewpoint. Now guys, please, just because a guy is a Muslim does not make him a jihadi, does not make him a radical. Again, you have to understand the difference between a fundamentalist and a radical. I'm not going to explain it to you yet. Find out or read my books. Or perhaps I'll make a video on it in the future. That is where you find most of the jihadis these days. Not in Israel, not in the Middle East, not in Pakistan, not in Saudi. They are in Sub-Saharan Africa. Right? And we saw him. Read codename VF0565. And you will see when I talk about the first wave. Fantastic operators who arrived, and suddenly we saw the mosques. And when we see a mosque, we can look at the mosque and we will know who built it. We know whose money has built that mosque because it's built in a certain way and it is Saudi money, that big mate of yours. Yes, the one who supports ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Very weird, that mate of yours. Yeah, well, of course it's your mate. If you're the second beast and you want to kill Christians, then of course you will gang up with people like that. Of course. If you were genuine, you would be friends with Iran. Ooh, shocking, shocking. But read my books and see my videos and wake up. And this doesn't make me a Iran actually supporter. Read codename Angel. You'll find out a few things which you didn't know. But let me explain something else to you. The intelligence agencies working in Sub-Saharan Africa, which is not you, the West, which we piss on, we urinate on you. We know where your safe houses are. Yes, we know. We know where you're holding there, we have staked you out. It's a matter of time before what has happened in Lot 72, which I described to you in a fictional way, is going to happen in real life. That you're going to get captured, that you're going to be displayed, and your entire operation is going to be seen by everybody. And yes, you can ban it on Facebook, and yes, you can ban it wherever. But the entire world does not consist of you, US, second beast, as well as NATO countries. There's a big world outside of you, right? And they don't like you. And the same with these motherships you have. read the first books in the Eggbreaker series, like Codename Phoenix, where we actually go into your motherships, where we start explaining how your motherships work. And we start explaining to you in Codename Willow Bay how we can get to your motherships without you even knowing we are there. Yes, I'll take over one of your warships if needs be. We've practiced it. We know how to do it. Go and read those books and wake up. Because your motherships is sailing around our coast. We know who they are. We know where they're from. We know where they're going to be in the future. Remember that. We also have satellites. We also have good intelligence networks. It's a matter of time before you're going to get captured and displayed. And your shame will be seen in the rest of the world. You are warned. You are warned. And that's what my books are about. It's to warn you, not to fight with you. It's not to be your enemy. It's to tell you, you better start waking up. You better start respecting your enemies. And you better start changing your ways. Because right now, you're on the path of Satan. And sadly, my friends, you're going to stay on the path of Satan. You know why? Because the Bible says so. The Bible says that the second beast, the first beast, as well as the dragon will exist until Jesus comes for the second time. You'll still be around. Yes, but that's your government. You, as the individual, don't need to follow that path, guys. You don't need to follow that path. Change your ways. Thank you for listening to me. God bless you. Until we meet again.